all down this aisle. So we listened to the briefing up front there, and he was telling us about what we could be expected in the future, you know. And right after it was over, one of these fellows came up to me and he said, my brother is on. He said, we want to be on the same crew together. I said, well, now listen, have you talked to your mom and dad about this thing? Because you realize if something happens, what happens to both of you at the same time. And I said, it makes no difference. It's all right with me. You can be on my crew, or you can go with the other fellow. His name was Pearl, Lieutenant Pearl. So they said they'd already talked to their dad, and they'd already talked to the administrative officer out there in Rapid City, and they said if they wanted to be on the same crew, well, they could be. So I said, you guys go out and decide where you want. Toss a coin, draw straws, or whatever. But anyhow, I forget how they decided, but anyhow, they ended up on my crew. So we had twins on it. You couldn't tell any difference because they were identical twins, and they looked just alike. So I just called them Devil. That was their last name. Charles Devil and Ellen Devil. Chuck it out. So then we trained up there at Rapid City for another 10 weeks, something like that. Just about the time we were ready to ship out overseas. The engineer had been an instructor for about 2 or 3 years in the Air Force, and his buddy shipped him overseas, and he developed migraine headaches. And he was going to be hospitalized. Of course, here we trained together for about 9 weeks, and all at once he got migraine headaches. Well, I was so angry. But I had a little authority. As an officer, I could break him down. He was buck sergeant, and I just took all his stripes on him and made him nothing but private. Well, of course, then you had to have a big hearing about that. See. But anyhow, I didn't say around the hearing because I was going overseas. But I understood later that he got his stripes back. But anyhow, so then here we were with 9 men and no engineer. So I went home to Maryland, gave us another week off. And I rode the train all the way back to Maryland, back to Rapid City, South Dakota. And got back there, and they gave us a fella out of the pool. See, they have anytime something happens to anybody, they just throw them all in the pool. So we had to have an engineer, so they called out and looked up the engineers in the pool, and there's one down there, qualified engineer. His name was Elijah Percival Neal. And he wanted to know, I don't know whether to inject this in there or into that tape or cut it off. But anyhow, he was a salesman for this latex outfit that makes ladies' girdles and things like that. So I'm not going to comment too much on that, except we went overseas together. We left up there and we went down to Omaha, Nebraska. We picked up a brand new B-17 down there. And of course, we were a bunch of rambunctious fellas, you know. I wanted to take a case of whiskey with me overseas so we'd have some American whiskey when we got over there. Well, I only had just a few bottles, 2 or 3 quarts or something like that. And when we left Rapid City, we got down to Omaha, they wouldn't let us have our baggage. They came in there and they put all the baggage out there in the middle of the floor. And you walked up there and they said, open it up, want to see what's in there. Well, they took all the whiskey away from us. So there we were, no whiskey. But we were there about 8 or 10 days. These airplanes getting serviced and everything. They had to put Tokyo tanks on them, not Tokyo, but they had to put Bombay tanks in them so they could fly them all the way across the Atlantic to England, see. So anyhow, we slipped off one night, and I went downtown, and I bought a case of whiskey. And I thought, when I get to England, so I have to go. That's all you'll ever get over there. You know, that's it, what you take home. And that way, maybe we can sip on it a little bit, pass it some around. But anyhow, we left there, then flew over Niagara Falls. I circled 2 or 3 times so everybody could take a picture of it and look at it. We went up to a place in Connecticut. I can't think the name of it. Then, when we left them there, we started up to Goose Bay, Labrador. We got almost up to Goose Bay, Labrador, and it started snowing, and clouds moved in bad and everything. And a couple of fellas made it past the field, and they couldn't get in. So there was about 25 of us. And they sent us all back then. And we landed up in Bangor, Maine. Well, a couple of days, the weather cleared up, and we were ready to take off. We went out, and I run the engines up in the airplane, and number 3 cylinder had a bad cylinder on it. You could tell it was missing and carrying on and everything. So I shut it down, called engineering, and they said it had a bad jug. We call it jugs. That was the part of the piston rides up and down on an air-cooled engine. Well, they had to send one in from Seattle, Washington, and they flew a mechanic in with it. The mechanic came in with this jug and put the thing on up there. Of course, we've been there now a week or so. And he put the thing on, then we went out and we flew up and down the lake. Jane heard me tell this story. We were test hopping this airplane across the lake, and the engineer from Boeing Aircraft Company was standing over my shoulder. We heard this thing go thump, thump, thump. Of course, we looked, you think something's happening. Engine backfiring, what's going on around here, you know? Come to find out, the bombardier was down the nose with a 45 pistol, and he was shooting at the ducks down on the water as we flew over the lake with this 45 automatic. But anyhow, we went left there, we landed in Goose Bay, spent the night up there. We shot a little skeet that evening. Next day we took off, we went over to Reykjavik, Iceland. And we landed in Reykjavik, spent the night there. Everything in Reykjavik smelled like fuel oil. Diesel fuel, that's all they had to heat those Nissen huts like this. And of course everybody over there smells in their hair, in their clothes and everything. And next morning we took off in the fog. Boy, that's wild and woolly out there. You couldn't tell where you were on the runway. The fog was bad, but anyhow we got off. The bombardier was talking, he was a little fellow, we called him Weasel. Bob Burbank's his name. And Bob came up there in the cockpit, we were talking. Bob says, they all give everybody a teaspoonful of Drano whenever he leaves up there at Reykjavik in order to get that old diesel fuel out of him. Yeah, he gave a teaspoonful of Drano. But anyhow, we took off, we landed at Valley, Wales, and left the airplane there. And got on a train. And went down to the 92nd Bomb Group. And that was the outfit then that I flew all my missions with. And that was a little town in England, about the size of Helenwood down here, I guess. It was called Poddington, England. It just had a little pub in town, they called it, a little tavern called a pub. And that's where all, if you wanted to have any real social life at night, you had to get on these Army 6x6 trucks, you know. But every time you go down the hill, suck some gas fumes in the back of them. All these soldiers tell you how they work. But anyhow, 26 miles to the nearest large town. That's where everybody mostly went on there. Whenever they had to pass out to eat, you got 2 or 3 day pass with to London. But anyhow, everybody over there riding bicycles, and everything blacked out at night. At night, you know, because the Germans were sending over these bombers still, and of course everything blacked out, no light shining or anything. And so that puts me up there where I start flying missions. So cut it off. I'm sure that other branches of service have it too. It's called a short snorter. Now I don't know whether they got the idea of a short snorter, but all of us, like in the room here, we would sign this thing, and it was all downtown drinking. Somebody just asked everybody to produce a short snorter, and if you couldn't produce one, then you had to pay for everybody's drinks. They signed up on this card here, see. So it didn't take a fellow very long. He made darn sure that he always had his short snorter. I see Sam Golden on there, Joseph Smith. And he says he's an American after his name. Marvin Darr, Anthony Goble, David W. Gates, Burt Gold. I remember these guys. But anyhow, that's what that is. It's a short snorter. And of course, this book here to me just brings back a lot of old memories. I thought maybe what y'all might be interested in out there was get back here in the back a little bit farther. This right here is a patch that we wore on our leather jackets. And of course I was assigned to the 15th Air Force for a while. My 8th Air Force is what I was with in England. But later on I was assigned down in post in Italy. And when I was down there, I was assigned to 15th Air Force. That's how come I got a 15th Air Force patch right there. But this right here is a picture of the crew at Rapid City, South Dakota. All 10 men, say. At that time, while this fellow right here, Fisher, was the engineer. Now Mitchell, this boy right here, he's from Maynardville. So when Jane and I and he was tail gunner. So when Jane and I got married while I was down here, I went over to see him. And he and his wife, this is a real close crew. We have been in practically all their homes, and every one of them have been here. So this thing right here is the instructions for a mission. I was looking for a date on it. Thought maybe we might have a date. But when we come back to the mission, I would make notes on there. It's condition of the airplane. It needs any work done on it. And here's the altitude we flew. It was 11,800 feet. And we start throwing chaff. Chaff is like Christmas tree icicles you put out to confuse the enemy's radar. And this is your instruction for taxi and everything like that. And this is a picture of our field. And the airplane I was flying this day, see, was on hard stand 33, and I came right out around here and took off in that direction. And this red section here is probably some of that hard stand's under construction now. Now this fellow right here, Captain Bennett, he was wounded flying with me. He had his left leg nearly shot off. And we come to find out later, about 4 years ago, Jane and I was up in Pittsburgh, and I had never seen him since they took him off the airplane. Didn't know whether he lost his leg or not. But anyhow, we were up in Pittsburgh to an Air Force reunion, and my gosh, here's Bennett walking up the steps. I said, man, am I glad to see you walking. He said, well, he says, I've got a lot of hardware in there, but he says, I'm getting around. Come find out, he's over here at Maryville. Well, anyhow, when I got home, I thought, I wonder if he's got any pictures or anything that he would like to have left over from while he was in service. See, so I had this one picture, and I had Tommy Chitwood make it up in a 9x11 or something like that, I believe 9x11, and I mailed it to him over at Maryville. Well, he wrote me a nice letter back and thanked me for it, and said that he got home with nothing. He had two pistols running the jack. Chrome-plated pistols, so he's like General Patton, the same. And anyhow, the only thing he got back to the States with was the clothes on his back. Everything else that he had, somebody stole it, or he got diverted and got lost or something. But poor old Bennett got back with nothing. And you see what all I've got back with here. So when I go to these Air Force meetings, it's the last alert sheet that I was briefed to fly. It was the 6th of May, 1945. It never was flown. But it was posted several times on the board, and the last one they put up was the 6th of May. Well, the war was over with the 8th of May. So there was never anybody briefed after that. Had I flown it, I'd have flown the last one that the 92nd Bomb Group flew. As it was, the last mission I flew was on April the 6th, and that was my birthday. But I didn't know that was going to be my last mission, say, at the time. Well, a lot of these folks here now, we correspond and we visit with each other and things like that, just for old time's sake. I'm going the wrong way, I guess. Now this right here, this thing here is what you put around your arm in case you were shot down and had to go into Russia. See, if we were deep in Germany, we could not make it back to England. We either had to go to Sweden, we had to go to Switzerland, or we had to go to Russia. Well, if you get in among them Russians, they don't care who they shoot. They just mean striped snakes. And you'd get that way too after a while. But these bands here, flags, if they're in Russian, on the backside you can't see it there. But it says, I am an American. And you want to be sure to show that to them. When you get over there, and you can't speak Russian.